Where do the Blue Jays go from here after another series loss? Hey, everyone, and welcome into Long Ball. Rob Wong, joined alongside by Toronto Sun Blue Jays writer Rob Longley. And Rob, just when you didn't think things could get even worse for the Blue Jays, they drop another series to the Detroit Tigers, their most recent loss, one in which they scored 11 runs but allowed 14. And as we just start to dissect what has gone wrong for the team this year, Rob, who do you think deserves the majority of the blame for a team that's well under 500?
Well, I think, really, Rob, it has to start at the top or near the top. And in my opinion, it starts with general manager Ross Atkins. His stated model for the offseason was to bank on internal improvement from the offense. And instead, the offense has done nothing but regress. He banked on the pitching staff being able to pitch back and perform back to the great season they had last year. And we've seen the bullpen teeter towards disaster. It's clear regression in that department. And we've seen at least a slight regression and maybe even more so from the starting rotation. So, status quo was never going to be good enough. And how the general manager could sort of believe that to be the case is beyond me. And that's where the buck stops at this point. And you could take it even further by suggesting that over the course of the last 2 or 3 years, he has depleted what was once rated as one of the top farm systems in baseball and is now towards the bottom of the list in the major leagues. So it starts at the top with the general manager, but save some of the blame, Rob, for the performance on the field too. The front office and the coaching staff can only do so much, and it's really difficult to explain how the bullpen has imploded to the point that it has this season. I know they've had some injury issues. Chad Green has been on the injury list for a while and is due to return any minute now. But the principals on that group have struggled. Tim Meza, who was a stalwart lefty out of the pen last year, has struggled. Jordan Romano, we've seen him struggle as well, and certainly most recently with that horrific loss on Sunday in Detroit. And the guys at the plate, guys have to do better. The highest paid player in franchise history, George Springer, as we sit here today, Rob, and discuss this prior to a Monday afternoon game in Chicago, is hitting 7th. That's the best they can do with the guy, either sit him on the bench or hit him 7th in the order. So lots of underachieving players, and then failure by the front office to supplement what was once considered legitimately a strong core group.
So the million-dollar question now is, how do the Jays find a way to turn things around? As you mentioned, GM Ross Atkins taking a lot of the blame. I know a lot of fans definitely want him gone. People want the manager gone. Totally understandable with the way that this team is playing right now. But what exactly is on the table? Are trades on the way? Are there minor league call-ups coming soon? What do you think is going to happen on that front, Rob?
To quote Jays starter Chris Bassett after another gruesome loss last week, if you have any ideas, let me know. Because really, what do they do at this point? Do they tear it all down? I don't think they can afford to do that. There are still some cornerstones of a core that you could continue to build around. And I don't think, business plan wise, that they can tear it down. This franchise can't afford to go through another year, a couple of years like they did in 2018 and 2019. The fan base will abandon ship. The fan base is already antsy about what they're seeing with this team. You can see the anger out there on social media. Not that that's a gauge of anything, but we heard boos in the Rogers Center in the last homestand, and somewhat legitimately so. I guess they have to hope that there is still time. I'm not in it's early camp, but there is still 100 games remaining, and if they can get above 500 first, and then still be within shouting distance in mid-July, then the front office has to make a decision. But if they don't get to that point, then they have to start, looking at least trading some of the assets that they have. That may not mean Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette, the two most valuable guys that they have, but there are a bunch of players that are becoming free agents at the end of this season, and it may be the opportunity to try to get some pieces back. But whatever deals are made, they've got to get players that are major league ready, I think, because this team has too many holes, especially at the plate. What can you do immediately? Well, I mean, we've heard talk about bringing a couple of guys up from Buffalo that are performing well. The name that comes up most often is Elvis Martinez. He's got a dozen home runs or whatever it is, but by all reports, the guy can't play defense. So can you throw him out in right field? Can you throw him in second base? You don't really want to use like a guy like that as a designated hitter. So maybe Spencer Horwitz, maybe you bring him up and see if you can get, at least get a bump, kind of like what the team did with David Schneider last year. But to your point, Rob, the options are few and the options are lean at this point. That, in the words of Ross Atkins, basically right now the improvement is going to have to come internally, and it's going to have to. These guys are going to have to build on some of the offense that they've shown over the last week or so, but more significantly, get it done in a significant way. And they're going to have to somehow figure out how this bullpen has kind of imploded to the point that it has at this point.
Well, if you've got any ideas, let us know in the comments section below. You can find all of Rob's Blue Jays coverage at the Toronto Sun. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time on another edition of Long Ball.